All right. Welcome in to the Strictly Business 2024 season week 4 recap. I am Biz. Everybody knows that. But I am joined with my co-host Big Burley and Triple D Diamond Denver Dave. Fellas, how we doing this week?
Down the middle.
We good. We done.
Down the middle.
Doing
Diamond Double D Dave. That's a lot of D's, man.
good.
I would say we're
Mommy D.
all three of us got to be in good spirits this week, right? We
I think so.
we all came away with the W, and there's only 3 teams in the league that are 3-1, and they all happen to be the faces you see here on this podcast. So, good work, guys, through 4 weeks. We are. John got an upgrade of his new home. John, when'd you move in?
Oh man, no, hold on. I don't like this.
No,
It's too bougie.
too bougie. Yeah, okay, that's more your style. There's a dumpster nearby, for sure. Dave, how you feeling, man? 3-1.
Hey man, that's a good step. I mean, it's a great way heading into week 5, being 3-1. I mean, there's still a lot of season left, but it's a great start.
I remember coming out of the draft. I had asked you. I said, "How do you feel about your draft? How do you feel about your team?" And for the first time since you've been in our league, you were like, you know what, Biz? I don't know. I really don't know. You felt a little uneasy about how you set the foundation to the team this year. But the team has played well. You've made some key moves early on. What would you say is your best, or let's just say most important move that you made so far?
Man, it's been a little tricky with some of the early season injuries, but getting Jaden Reed and having him with Jordan Love gives my team some hope this year for sure.
Yeah, Jaden Reed is a huge draft pick.
Yeah, Jaden Reed, I think, was my best pick. I knew he was. I had a feeling he was going to be the number 1 target in Green Bay, but I didn't think it was going to be quite play out like this. Through 2 games with Jordan Love.
He is electric with the ball in his hands. He just looks like he's faster and quicker than everybody on the field so far.
I agree. I mean, he's like a mini Debo. They find him a way to get involved with the offense, and he stays active.
Well, that's smart. I mean, you got to get your most electric players the ball. John, how about you, man? How are you feeling? What do you think has been your most impactful move so far?
I don't know, man. Drafting Mason was pretty good. Obviously, you finally got your Tylenol.
Yeah.
I was able to make the most out of a late draft pick. So, yeah, I don't know. Other than that, what's been most attributing to my current record is the fact that I've played the 2023 Nicky schedule so far. I don't know that I've played an opponent with more than 125 points this year. So
yeah, and that certainly plays a role into your record. I mean, what was it, 2 weeks or last week? We had 2 teams face off, and Ryan had the most points, which is still the high point total for the league in a single week. And Carl had the second most points and got the loss. That's just, sheer luck of the draw.
Yep.
I would say my most impactful move was a negative move on draft night, where I traded Jaden Daniels for Trevor Lawrence. I also traded Tank Dell in that deal for Chris Olave. Now, Chris Olave for Tank Dell is a huge edge at this point in time. However, my current roster scenario is that I'm having issues at quarterback. I have Anthony Richardson, who I thought was a great draft pick in the end of the 6th round. He hasn't panned out. I picked up Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton had a serviceable week, about 19 points last week, got me the win. But man, if I had Jaden Daniels right now, I'd be in the driver's seat. I'd be feeling really good about my team and the long-term possibilities of this team with Christian McCaffrey still on the IR. As you said, you and I, we did a deal last week right after the podcast. We can dive into that because that had implications into the week 4 point total. I traded you Ramondre Stevenson and DK Metcalf for Jordan Mason, a.k.a. Tylenol, Khalil Shakur, and Austin Eckler. Now, I knew you knew Eckler wasn't playing. I think he'd already been deemed out.
If he wasn't deemed out, he was deemed out hours afterwards. But
yeah.
I mean.
And then I took him knowing there was a limited to no chance of him playing because of the concussion he incurred the week before. So that was more, down the line, solid flex play. Obviously, Jordan Mason is, I think, a top 5 running back until Christian McCaffrey comes back. And even if or when Christian McCaffrey comes back, who the fuck knows? But at least I've got both. I mean, shit. I think the first couple weeks McCaffrey's back, depending on, the volume, they're both startable, right?
I'm just patiently waiting for the 49ers to break Mason so that you come crawling for Garenda.
Oh, God. That won't happen. That won't happen.
What?
I'm not – no. I would go elsewhere. I would look elsewhere. Bro, I'm good. I got Austin Eckler. I'll slide him into my RB2 spot. Kenneth Walker looks like a fucking stud. I mean, he's only played 2 games, and in both games, I mean, the first game, I think he had 25 points, 23 points, and then he had 3 touchdowns on Monday night, gave him 30-something points. Like,
he's so fast. He is so fun to watch. He slashes through that defense, man.
Yeah, and, RJ is the one that always said you got to watch games, right? You can't just look at the box score because so much happens in the game. For instance, guys that are wide open and the quarterback throws a bad ball and he could have had a touchdown. That's not in the box score. Running backs that, finish, maybe get stopped in the 1-yard line and don't get the touchdown, but got the goal line carries. Or, there's a variety of things that happen in a game just that you can see just by watching. I mean, of course, there's pre-snap motion, which is really important. And then there's post-snap motion, but we can get into that in another time. Point is there's more that you get out of watching the game than just looking at the numbers at the end of the game. And one thing I noticed by watching that Monday night game with Kenneth Walker is he is explosive. I mean, there's some running backs for Detroit that are explosive. I mean, David Montgomery just bowling over people. That one play in the end of the game, I think it was the 4th quarter where he caught the pass from Goff and just absolutely destroyed, Witherspoon? And then broke like 3 more tackles and then came to the near sideline. Like, that was an incredible run. But, and then Jahmyr Gibbs just is so explosive. He looks so good too. He's incredible. But you get more from watching the game is what I'm trying to say. I did a trade just yesterday with Ryan where I was able to secure Deontay Johnson. And the one thing watching that game last week, because I started Dalton and I had Xavier Legette, was that Deontay Johnson's day could have been a lot bigger. He had a touchdown that he dropped. It would have been like a 40-yard touchdown. And then he had another play along the sideline, which would have been a 25, 30-yard reception that he dropped. So his day could have been a lot bigger. And those are the things you don't see if you just look in the box score. Right.
That's what I got with Shaheed out of week 3. You know what I'm saying? He had a couple of big plays with Carr that were just a few feet away from connecting. You know, and everybody was like, Shaheed was flashing the pan. He came back with 11 targets and lit it up, man. Like, get out of here, flashing the pan.
No, there is one caveat to what I said, in that you don't have to watch the Broncos. They're unwatchable. They're winning games, Dave. Congratulations, but they're unwatchable as a football team.
Yeah, they still have some things to iron out, but I think things are definitely trending in the right direction.
Do you know a stat I heard that at one point, why am I not thinking of his name? Number one wide receiver.
Cortland?
Sutton.
Yes, thank you. Sutton. He had more receiving yards than Bo Nix had passing yards at one point in the game.
He had all of Bo Nix's passing yards.
Yeah. I think he had 60 receiving yards and Bo Nix had 57 passing yards because there was a completion behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I thought it was 60 passing yards for Nix, but I wasn't really sure. I knew they all went to Cortland Sutton.
Well, my point is
That's
one point in the game, Sutton had more receiving yards than Bo Nix had passing yards because of negative plays. That's passing plays.
Funny.
That's insane. That's insane.
Funny.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we roll right into week 4 right now? Here, I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me. This is always an adventure. Let's see. Not that. Not that. There we go. We'll share this. Boom. You guys got me?
We got you.
Bing bong.
Bing bong. Man, going into this week, I'll be honest, I was not confident. It was one of those weeks where you're like, man, I just want to survive the fucking week. I had traded away DK Metcalf, Chris Olave, and man, it was a tough week for me. We'll get into that as far as why. I mean, anytime you get a win, 143.5 this year, I think 140 is now the mark to win. It's normally 150, but points overall are down this year. Ricky's team, fortunately, I got 2 absolute duds out of his 2 studs. Josh Allen on that Sunday night game where Baltimore just pummeled Buffalo. And then Breece Hall. I didn't watch much, if any, of that Denver Jets game. Dave, like, what was going on with Breece Hall in this game?
Well, it was a rainy, yucky game. The Broncos were getting penetration of the Jets line. I mean, they rushed all game. They were getting penetration, putting pressure on Rodgers. I think Braylon Allen I don't know. He just had a better day. I mean, it just.
Well, I'd hope so.
Breece Hall was having a bad day, and Braylon Allen was having a good day.
10 carries for 4 yards. That is not like Breece Hall. Now, Denver, one thing I can say about them is their defense is legit. I think their defense is top 5, top 6 defenses in the league, not just fantasy. In NFL. They're studs.
I don't know if it's that high, Biz. I really don't think it's a top 10 defense. I think it's maybe their run defense scares me sometimes. I mean, this game was a little different. I don't think it was really just because Denver in the rain, defense was shutting them down. It was more like the Jets' offense just stunk.
Yeah, and the Jets still had a chance to win at the end. Greg Valeg just blew field goal opportunity at the end. Granted, it was 50-yarder, so it's not a gimme in those conditions, but still, Rodgers was just dejected after the game. So any time that, Breece Hall and Travis Etienne don't score as much as Rico Dowdle, you're in for a tough week for Ricky. Again, Dalton almost 19 points. Jordan Mason, he got over 100 yards on his very last carry of the game, got in the end zone. He also had a receiving touchdown called back on a George Kittle holding penalty, which was not fucking holding, but what are you going to do? Refs threw the flag. That's the play where Jordan Mason's running down the near sideline and the fucking ref threw it, and it actually hit Mason as he's running down the sideline. Hit him with the flag. Moving on here, Malik Neighbors had a monster game again, over 100 yards. Got knocked out on the final offensive play for the Giants, so he's in concussion protocol. Fingers crossed that he'll be able to suit up. The only saving grace is that game was on Thursday night, gives him a full 10 days. Did not practice yesterday, so
there was an alert that came 5 minutes ago that said Malik Neighbors is a long shot week 5.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
That's news.
It just came through 5 minutes ago on Sleeper.
Okay. Well, if that's
Can't
the
see your
case,
phone, but we can see you. It blurts out your phone.
I
Yeah.
see that.
If that's the case, I'll be looking elsewhere, because in this game, in this week, I also had right here Rashee Rice, which is just an awful, gruesome looking injury. There's still limited information coming, still getting testing done. Obviously, he's going to be out for week 5, but the long-term ramifications on this are just not good looking long term. Right now, it says that his ACL is still intact, but they don't know. I mean, he's got tremendous swelling, so he's continuing to get more tests done. Obviously, this hurts Pat Mahomes. This hurts the Chiefs' offense as a whole. It boosts Kelsey, probably boosts Xavier Worthy. But Rashee Rice, man, I mean, he was a top 5 wide receiver the first 3 weeks. And in the first quarter of the game, on their second possession, Mahomes has an errant attempt towards Kelsey. The D-back is running down the sideline, and Rashee Rice is just being a team player trying to punch out the ball. He did successfully punch the ball out, but in doing so, Mahomes slid in, and his knee just locked. It looked ugly.
Well, they may not make anything on Rice. They may not say anything on Rice's condition or his availability, and maybe it's stemming because they want him to. It's a strategy move on the Chiefs' part to have, because he has that 2 game. He's going to be suspended next year. He has that court case in December.
Mm-hmm.
It might be just something for, to have him serve his time this year if he's going to be out the rest of the year.
Yeah, but the question is, they haven't ruled on it yet, so you can't have him take a suspension for something he hasn't been suspended for yet. Yes. And I don't know if you can be suspended if you're on the IR or eat into your suspension time while you're on the IR.
Cannot.
Yeah, I thought you had to be physically able.
Yep.
So anyways, back to this game. Kenneth Walker, we talked about him, 3 touchdowns, almost 32 points was huge. Anytime you can get a win when your defense scores 2, your kicker's 1.5, and you get a 0 from one of your studs, I will take it. And also a 2.2 out of fucking Hunter Henry, who I dropped his ass. And I still put up 143.5 points. I'll take it. Any way, shape, or form. Next, business ethics. Dave, I'm going to have you take us through this 184.26 victory over Searchlight Publishing, 125.62.
I just, I had a yeah, man, I just had love going on with Jayden Reed. At first it was pretty tight. I was just kind of hoping my defense would pull through a little bit, and I wasn't expecting this many points from Love. Just wasn't.
Especially the way that game started.
Yeah, it started 28-0. He had 2 interceptions by in the first quarter? No, second quarter, I guess. Yeah, it was just a weird game, but it played out to where Jordan Love was throwing dollars. I mean, he was throwing dimes to Jayden Reed, and Reed was underneath all that. It was a crazy game. I watched it again. I watched the game yesterday from the mid-second quarter on up. It was just a weird day. I mean, 3 interceptions is pretty rare unless you're like a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback or somebody that doesn't.
He's not gonna throw 54 times in a game. That's not their game plan. That was just how they got down early, and Minnesota just kept scoring, so he had to throw.
The Vikings D locked him down through 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
If I recall, the first touchdown they got in the first half was basically a gift where it was a muff punt recovery.
Yeah.
And it gave them almost gold field position. So, I mean, Minnesota had literally shut them down. So, I mean, I'd even say not only will you not throw that much, this was a lot of garbage time.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know that you can look at that and say that's what this team is.
Oh, absolutely not. And then they lost Christian Watson. That was in the first half, I believe. That looked gruesome, too, the way he got rolled up on in the middle of the field. Dave, you got some good production out of Jonathan Taylor and James Conner. However, Jonathan Taylor did leave the game with a high ankle sprain. They're calling it a mild high ankle sprain. Who the hell knows what that is? It doesn't look good for him this week.
Everybody's got him now.
Jordan Addison, first game back. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground. Jaden Reed, you talked about that here. Laporta, 4 for 53, solid. Lockett, solid, 5 for 61 on 9 targets. Brian Robinson, man, he's just been killing it. That deal for Ramondre Stevenson a couple weeks ago, that's obviously lopsided towards you in your favor. Brian Robinson's – that Washington offense is a lot better than people thought. Defenses really didn't do much. He had McPherson go off for 14 points. Waddle, it's tough to have Tyreek and Waddle with their quarterback situation. Jameson Williams had that 170-yard touchdown on Monday night. That was a huge play. What's up with Zay Flowers? He's just not getting touches, man. I don't understand. I understand they run first, but they're not throwing the ball downfield at all in Baltimore. That's surprising because Zay Flowers is explosive. I mean, what you would consider a pedestrian day for Jefferson at 17.5 points, that would be a stud day for most. And then Jaden Daniels, he just keeps on keeping on, man.
Keeps on trucking.
Touchdown on the ground, touchdown through the air, 2-point conversion, just solid as fuck, and an absolute blowout in Arizona. Yeah, man. I mean, you had a high week this week. It's not high week on the year, but 184 points will get it done most weeks. You should. Rich falls to 2-2. You move up to 3-1. All right, John, here's your game. 143.
Let's go.
143.34. You basically had a bye week. I almost texted you on Sunday being like, yo, you got a bye week this week. And it's not a knock against Jeff. It's just he's dealing with a lot of injuries. And then the Tua injury affecting Tyreek Hill, 100.92. So take us through this, John.
Yeah, it started on Thursday night. McKeever sent out the, hey, I just hope I'm not down 50 with CD and Dak. And it sure it looked like it was heading that way at the beginning of the game. CD got peppered with, I think, 6 or 7 targets on the first drive, then gets hit with the long touchdown on the second drive. So,
bro, I think he had 6 for 92 and a touch at halftime.
Yeah.
And finished 7 for 98.
Yep. But
could have been a lot bigger.
And right. From there, it just compounded a bunch of solid days, and McKeever had a bunch of not show ups.
Mm-hmm.
Pull up. Let's see. But we got off to a start on Thursday night and didn't really have to look back.
Yep. Rashid Shaheed bounced back from his goose egg last week. He did lose a fumble, but still 16.3. You'll take that all day.
All day.
Kincaid has just kind of been pedestrian in that 4 or 5 catches, 40-yard range.
Just like all tight ends, man. It's touchdown or bust right now. And that's literally every single tight end.
Yep. DK, who you got from me, that was a tough fumble because he broke 2 tackles. He's lunging forward and the ball pops out. He's just trying to make an effort play. But that's his 3rd straight game over 100 yards. I love DK. I think he was a top 10 receiver this year. That's why I drafted him in the 2nd round. Took a shot on him when everyone, his entire career, he's never finished outside wide receiver 20. And this could be the year that he breaks into the top 10 for sure. J.K. Dobbins came back down to earth. That was, again, that whole Kansas City Chargers game was a weird game. I even fell asleep in it. And then you had Koo, who had 4 field goals, man, 2 50-plus field goals. That's huge. 21 points.
Including the 58er to win the game, right? Was it 58 to win the game?
54, I think. Was it 58? It doesn't matter. It was a bomb. And that was crazy because they got a late PI call on the Saints, and that's what got them into field goal position. The Saints just shooting themselves in the foot late in the game. How you feeling about Justin Fields?
I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Talk to me next week if Pittsburgh trades for Devontae.
Yeah, true.
Then I'll feel a lot better about Justin Fields.
which is a very real possibility. I mean, they were going all in on Brandon Ayuk before the
Yeah.
season.
Yep.
So
It's just going to be whether or not they're going to outbid the Jets, who apparently still want him.
And Saints.
well, Devontae said he'd like to go to the Saints in reunion with Derek Carr, but I don't know if the Saints have come out and who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I think those are the three front runners, those teams for sure, the Saints, the Jets, and the Steelers. But yeah, good win this week. Like I said at the beginning, all three Colorado owners are 3-1. Jeff falls to 1-3. Okay, STD buckets. 138.4 to Miss Slim Shady, 129.48. Nikki falls to 0-4. Norm is now won 2 in a row. CJ Stroud in that wild game, they were down most of that game against Jacksonville. Actually, it was back and forth, but at the end, they got down. And it seemed like Stroud was only peppering his top target, Nico Collins, 15 targets, 12 catches, 151 yards, and a touch. Good for 32 points. Achane didn't do shit. James Cook didn't do shit. Rashad White, Najee, okay, decent days. Brian Thomas looks legit, like a legit number one wide receiver for the Jags. He's just there's like all kinds of statistics and wide receivers getting separation right now. Brian Thomas is number one, and if Trevor Lawrence could throw the ball, Brian Lawrence would have had an even bigger day. Excuse me, that was Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk was wide open on a post route. It was a corner route because he was coming across the field, but he was wide open. He had burned the secondary. He's wide open. And Trevor Lawrence overthrown by, I don't know, at least 10 yards. It was bad. And Kirk had a big game, 7 for 61 with a touch. Marvin Harrison, 5 for 45 and a touch. I mean, Arizona came out early because I have Kyler in my other league. And they drove right down the field and scored. And then Washington drove right down the field and scored. I was like, all right, cool. We got a shootout. And then Arizona just couldn't keep up. They could not keep pace in that game. Goddard, another solid day, heading into his bye week, 9.7. Mark Andrews. Is it time to drop Mark Andrews, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
It sure is. And I was on the fence about it until he had that fucking ball hit him in the hands. On that fucking, he turns around, the ball hits him in his hands, in his breadbasket, and then hits the ground. I was like, that's it, man. He is cooked.
Yeah,
fucking fork in him, he's done.
Dude, that was an easy 15, 20-yard completion, and Lamar put it on him, like you said, and it just, Stonehands just dropped it. That is not
his only target.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame Lamar if that was his last target.
Yep.
So
Nicky again with a 30-plus point effort out of his defense. San Francisco wiping the floor with New England. Monster day.
Nicky says that's the blueprint. You know, you get a stack, you get a good defense, and then fill it in with 10-pointers, and you got a winner.
Yeah. Well, the rest of his team scored roughly 95 points without his defense. So he's going to need his defenses moving forward. So STD buckets, 138.4. Like I said, Normie making moves. 0-2 start is now right.
Big win, Drippy Dick.
Yeah. Yep. Rod Dogging it, another solid week, 167.48. Talking about teams that started 0-2, Ryan is now 2-2. Sticky Nicky Throat Pie Guy, why couldn't you do this in week 3? Have a flopper of a week, 95.54. I mean, really for Phil, Lamar Jackson, Kyron, who just is a touchdown machine. Other than that, his team, 9.4 out of Bijan. Bijan has not had a good start. Are you guys worried about Bijan at all?
Yes, I am.
I'm not worried about him at all. Not even a little, because that bitch isn't on my team. I'm just glad that he's not.
Phil with -9 out of Arizona. I guess we'll see tonight because Bijan plays Thursday night. See, Ryan picked up Geno Smith. Geno Smith I traded to Norm, and then Norm traded Geno to Ryan in 2 consecutive deals. Geno had a big night, 395 yards. Again, They were in comeback mode against Detroit Monday night. Derrick Henry, man, 1 yard shy of 200. He also caught a touchdown. Absolute monster. Does not look like he slowed down at all. We talked about Montgomery, man. He had some huge runs. That dude runs so hard. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had a passing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. It's crazy to think that Jared Goff has more receiving touchdowns than Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, but that is true. After 4 weeks, Garrett Wilson. Are you guys concerned about Garrett Wilson at all?
Yeah, you have to be if you're the owner. I mean,
once again, I'm not even a little bit concerned.
I mean,
he was traded this week.
Just the Jets offense it doesn't look good right now. It's not in sync, and
the only game they looked good was against the Patriots.
They have 3 matchups coming up that are tough.
And again, what happens to his value if Devontae gets there? Then, Aaron Rodgers has Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard. What the fuck's he need a Garrett Wilson for?
Good point. If you were the Jets, would you trade Garrett Wilson?
How can you? Like a year from now, you're not going to have any of the 4 of them or 3 of them, whatever.
But you're gonna have to pay him. It's true. But I just don't think Garrett Wilson has proven to be that alpha number 1 wide receiver that we all thought he was.
Man, you know who should trade for him? Fucking Kansas City then.
Yeah, that's true. He'd fit perfectly. He'd fit right into that Rashee Rice role.
Perfect.
Deontay Johnson, we talked about him where he had 2 key drops, or his day would have been much bigger. 17.8 though. Zach Moss had a big game. 15 at least out of your flex. Wan'Dale had 14 targets, 11 catches, 71 yards.
Wow.
a key drop on 4th down. It was tight coverage. Daniel Jones did put it on him, and it hit his hand, and he dropped it.
He had that pass late in the game. Yeah, it sailed over him on the last drive, and it would have been fun to see if Neighbors was still in the game. See what would have happened.
Yeah, well, Neighbors was in the game.
No, he was hurt. Remember?
No, it was the very last play. Oh, that's right. You're right. We got the ball back one more time. Mm-hmm. You're right. Keon Coleman, a.k.a. Puka of 2024. He had three catches for 51 yards. Sorry, Phil. Just a flop of a week for you, brother. -9 out of your D. It's tough to win. But Rod Doggin at 167, like I said, he's won 2 in a row. And now
Phil got any major injuries on his team?
Who's that, Phil?
Yeah, has he got any major injuries?
I'm looking. Let's see. Kyle Pitts, that's an injury. That's a headache. Mostert, it's not major, but Mostert's been down. And now Devontae Adams did not play this week. Late scratch in the week with a hamstring injury. And he's definitely not going to play in week 5. I don't consider that major, though. Like, I had Devontae as like a top 20 wide receiver coming into the season, and the way this season started for him, it dropped him even lower. Like, I hate to say it because he's so good, but it's the system he's playing in and the guys around him. He's a wide receiver 3. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, Devontae Adams, I mean, he doesn't want to be there. Is that,
Yeah, I think his current value is a wide receiver 3.
No.
He's Devontae Adams, so of course his name, keeps him in the mix. Last game to recap here in week 4. Firm grasp of the obvious, 120.2 falls to 2-2. Stacks on stacks, 147.18. Carl's team's coming alive as Joe Burrow is carrying the squad. He had a big game, 19, almost 20 points, which this year, that's a big fucking game. Jahmyr Gibbs, like I said, man, that guy is so good. 2 touchdowns on the ground. Chuba Hubbard, his value is going to take a dip soon, but he gets so many touches, and he's the clear number 1 right now until Brooks comes back. Singletary really didn't do much for RJ. Pat Mahomes, man, he's off to a struggling start. 245 yards, a touchdown, that pick we talked about earlier. Kamara had a huge game with 7 catches, a touchdown on the ground, 77 yards. Mike Evans got back in the end zone. I mean, Busy Baker, dude, 3 out of 4 weeks, he's zipping the ball around the field. He looks good. Calvin Ridley, like, what are you guys' thoughts on Calvin Ridley? I mean, he is obviously talented. He's a skilled player, but I've watched some of those Tennessee games, and their offense is just meh. It's ugly.
Will Levis, man, it's awful. He's awful.
Well, even when Mason Rudolph came in the game, they still couldn't get the ball to Ridley. I mean, he had 3 targets in a game. Granted, they got up, so they just started pounding the rock, and that's why Pollard had such a good game. But Ridley just, I don't know. It's like you would think he would fit into that offense because the other star wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins is more of a possession guy. Ridley can be the field stretcher or, you know, even the quick intermediate passes. It's just, I agree. Levis stinks. They should be starting Mason Rudolph, but they have a bye week, week 5, so we'll find out.
I'll tell you, when I was watching that game on Monday, is as soon as Will Levis got hurt and he was out of the game, I knew he wasn't coming back in. But I also was starting the Dolphins defense versus the Titans defense or offense, and I knew as soon as Mason Rudolph took over, he was going to be the better quarterback. He's the better quarterback for that team.
Yeah, 100%. And it's kind of like the Colts situation where Joe Flacco comes into that game because AR gets hurt.
And the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild, you know. These older
guys, they don't give a fuck, man. They're not scared to throw a fucking interception.
Yep.
They're already walking into dog shit situations with low expectations, and why not just throw the dick around, man? And they seem to be successful at it.
Yeah.
It's the Fitzpatrick thing again.
Yeah.
You know, how many years did Ryan Fitzpatrick make a career out of not giving a fuck and just slinging dick after injured quarterbacks?
It's
Good
magic.
point. Well, it's all coming to fruition this year. You see these offenses start moving the ball, you know. A couple things to point out here. Amari Cooper had a big touchdown taken off the board. I think it was like 80 yards where he went to the house and it got called back on a suspect holding penalty. And then Jamar Chase took one to the house where he broke multiple tackles. A couple guys were just olaying, as Antonio Pierce has said, made business decisions on that Carolina defense. Looking at this here, Carson Steele, he had that early fumble. Looks like he's not going to be the RB1 in Kansas City anymore. Their defense is both tied at 17. And as I said before, firm grasp of the obvious loses this week. He's 2-2. Stacks on stacks is on the rise. He is now 2-2 as well. So what we're going to talk about next is our standings, because we forgot to do that last week. And here we are. Come on. All right. So in the Red Flags division, Chief Biz is 3-1 with 565 points on the season. Phil is 2-2. Here, let me pull this up because this is actually better on my phone. Sleeper's a better mobile app than it is a PC app. So I got back in the winning column. I won 1. Phil falls. That's only 1 loss, but STD buckets here. Norm, 2-2. He's won 2 in a row. Meanwhile, McKeever has lost 3 in a row, decimated by injuries. His team looks better this week with both Debo back and maybe gets a good game out of Tyreek. Mediocreville is just that. All 4 teams are tied at 2-2. However, a couple things to highlight here. As we mentioned before, Ryan is 1-2 in a row after starting 0-2. Carl is 2-2. Ricky is 2-2. And Rich has lost 2 in a row after starting 2-0. This is extremely tight division, records, and points. Skid marks. Both you boys are 3-1, except Dave is 591 points. And right now, after 4 weeks, is the number 1 team in our league because of the 591 points compared to I have 565, and John has 547. RJ is now 2-2. He has lost 2 in a row. And then Nikki, he's 0-4. So, any comments about the standings?
No, I mean it's early. It's all going to be super tight. We still need probably 4 or 5 weeks before things start kind of shaking out and we see where things are going.
Yeah.
It's crazy how tight this league always is. You know,
Always.
we've got these 3-3-1 teams. We've got 1-1-3 team, 1-0-4 team, and everybody else is 2-2. So that means a 2-2 team is in 4th place, and the 2-2 team is in fucking 10th place.
So we're 4 weeks down. We have 10 more weeks of our regular season. So we are more than a third. Well, about a third of the way through the year. Almost. I think after this week, we'll be officially a third of the way through the season. So speaking of, let's go in. There's been a lot of activity in the league this week. I mean, as we know, we've talked about this. There's always a lot of stuff going on. But I want to highlight here, we talked about our trade, John, right after the show last week.
Yeah.
Then I did another deal with STD Buckets where I traded Geno Smith, P. Ryan, and Tank Dell for Evan Ingram, Michael Pittman, and Xavier Legette. Now, this was before week 4. Evan Ingram was already knew he was going to be out. Legette was a waiver wire pickup, and Pittman hadn't done shit in 3 weeks. So I put Pittman on the bench. Pittman had a good week because Flacco came in. Pittman was actually having a good week even with AR. Ingram sat, but I feel like if you just look at how things turned out after week 4, I feel like I got a good edge in this deal.
Well, Tank Dell isn't playing, and P. Ryan, I mean, he's going to be in the mix for the RB1 job in KC, and
it's a mess, dude, because now you got CEH coming back too, and there's still a chance that Pacheco comes back at some point this season. That the backfield, I just, John knows, I was trying to put P. Ryan in a deal with every offer just to get him off my roster. I want nothing to do with that Kansas City backfield. Kareem Hunt.
I mean, I'd take Kareem Hunt right now.
He looked good. I just think it's going to be every week. It's going to be somebody else stepping up, and you just, you got to take your shot on that backfield.
This is not Carson Steele.
Yeah, I don't think Carson Steele's the guy. Raw dogging it, he traded Christian Kirk and Jacoby Myers for Geno Smith in the Cowboys defense, which he started Geno. Christian Kirk had a second good week in a row. Jacoby Myers, obviously his value is now increased because Devontae probably played his last game for the Raiders. Here, next, Stroud Buckets traded Jacoby Myers. Norm's good at that, picking up a guy and then immediately flipping him. And James Cook for Zay Flowers and Jamison Williams. Now, Zay Flowers has had a couple down weeks. Week 2, he had a good game. Otherwise, he's had 3 really bad weeks. Jamison Williams is boom bust, but for 3 of the 4 weeks, it's been more boom than bust. Jacoby Myers, again, solid pickup. Now has more value, and I love James Cook. Chime in with any thoughts. And then just yesterday, Ryan and I did a deal. I feel like Ryan and I have been working on deals for the last couple of weeks. Yes, I'm trying to get Sun God off his team, but I'll take a Deontay Johnson who's just been peppered with targets since Andy Dalton became the quarterback. I did give up Michael Pittman and Xavier Legette. Ray McLeod was the throw-in. I told him, I said, hey, just throw in whoever you're going to drop. Any thoughts on this deal?
I like Deontay. I also think that, Ryan got a solid deal out of Deontay.
Yep. I think it was a good deal for both teams. Didn't want to give up Legette, but because I was getting Deontay back, I said, fuck it. Leggett got 10 targets. He had 2 drops, or he would have had a lot more points last week. Michael Pittman, I do like him. I'm just wondering how sustainable that passing offense is going to be once AR is back officially.
Hey, we just had somebody pop in with a question. It's okay to laugh. Asks, considering the running back injuries as of late, as a Connor owner, do I trade for Benson? Is he the clear cuff or is it Amari DeMercado? Thoughts on cuffs in general? I'm not big on cuffs, but in a situation like James Conner, I like having it. I like having it in a CMC Brees Hall type situation. But in general, I'm not the biggest fan of it. But if I have Connor, I do want Benson.
Most years I'm not a fan of keeping a handcuff on my bench, but this year seems different, where I went out and traded for Jordan Mason, as being the CMC owner. I traded for Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet as a package. But most seasons, I'd rather go get another running back from another team than keep the cuff. But I feel like both in my case with Jordan Mason and Charbonnet, they're high-end handcuffs. No doubt. It's tough. I think it's case by case. I don't know if I love.
How about you, Dave? You're the Connor owner in our league. What's your thoughts here?
I think I think it'd be a wise move right now to go for Trey Benson. I think eventually they're going to get him some work in that Arizona offense. I mean, they're gonna run Benson as long as they can. He is an older running back who's prone to being injured more often, more than a younger running back. But I don't think it's a bad move to go after Benson if you if you're able to, DeMercado is definitely going to see some action. He'll be in the mix this year, but I think true talent. It's between DeMercado and Benson. It's no contest. I mean, Benson has those natural abilities. He's a bigger running back with speed and showed some elusiveness in preseason.
Yeah, and we've seen what DeMercado has to offer. Whereas Benson, like you said, he's a younger back, bigger back, faster, more athletic. They drafted him for a reason. He's much more higher upside. Now, his second part of his question was, would you trade Sutton or Shaheed for Benson? In my opinion, right away, I would trade Sutton, but maybe try to get something back in that too. It really depends on what your other running backs are too. If you're deep at running back, you don't necessarily need to back up Connor with an unknown in Benson. In the last couple of weeks, Arizona's offense has not looked good. It's just, would you rather have a rookie running back on a shitty offense or go get a decent running back on a better offense backup, like Emmanuel Wilson? I don't know.
That's my preference. That's how I play. I mean, we saw our draft strategy, right?
Yeah.
I kind of wished I had I kind of wished I had Trey Sermon. I didn't win him in our free agent, our waiver wire bids, but
yeah. Well,
you gotta
waivers,
fill in when you can,
We've got 2 more trades to go through. Ricky, who's not usually very active in trades, he did a couple 1-for-1s. He traded Tutu Atwell for the Bills D. Then he traded Devonta Smith, who's on bye week 5, for aforementioned Garrett Wilson. Who would you guys rather have, Devonta Smith or Garrett Wilson?
Devonta Smith.
100%, right?
Yeah.
Same.
I'm on the fence until they trade for Devontae.
Yeah.
You still have Aaron Rodgers coming out after week 3 saying every team we've played against defensively has taken Wilson out of the game. And you go after that interview, the next game he plays, he's locked down by Surtain, right?
Yeah.
So
And now they're
I'm
playing
still
Minnesota in London, and Minnesota's defense has been playing very well. The only reason why they gave up so many yards last week is, like you said, John, it was a lot of, they were down in the game and the Packers had to throw the ball.
right.
All right, waivers. All right. Where do we start?
At the top.
Here we go. October 2nd. Jordan Whittington was waived for – oh, that's not going to work. I got to go on my phone.
He went for 37 fake fab bucks to Rich.
Yep.
And the only reason that's burned into my head is because I was second at 32.
Where do I find it in my phone?
It's going to be in the comments, isn't it? Or the
Here we go.
chat.
I got it. There's the waiver. Yeah, and I don't know why it's showing Whittington first, because really Trey Sermon was the big pickup of the week, knowing that Jonathan Taylor's at least most likely going to be out this week. Nicky got him for 67 fake bucks, dropping Jalen Warren. 5 people bid. Nicky got him for 67, Dave 32, Jeff 31, Ryan 21, and Norm 7. So Nicky spent 35 more fake bucks. Whittington again went to Rich, dropping Cam Akers for 37 fake bucks. Burley with 32, McKeever 30, Carl 13, Ryan 12, and Dave 11. Next was Tucker Kraft. 4 people bid. Nicky got him for 27, beating out Dave, who bid 21, Norm 8, I bid 2. Jaleel McLaughlin goes to Dave, 21 fake bucks. Ryan bid 6, McKeever bid 1. Juju Smith-Schuster went to Jeff, 17 fake bucks. Carl bid 12. Commanders defense went to Phil, outbidding Norm. Phil bid 13. Norm bid 4. Then there was a couple $1 and $0 pickups. I picked up Eric All, dropping Hunter Henry for $1. McMillan went to Norm for $1. Tyrone Tracy went to Jeff for $1. Siebert, the kicker for Washington, went to Ryan. And then I picked up Groupie. I like Groupie. He's a groupie. Other moves that have happened since the waiver wire: Falcons D was picked up by RJ, dropping Jamal Williams. Ryan picked up Ray McLeod, who he then traded to me, and then I dropped. I picked up Flacco and dropped Eric All. Watson was picked up for Carl, dropping in Alex Pierce. McLaughlin, the kicker for Tampa, was picked up by Norm, dropping McMillan. And then Kendre Miller was picked up for New Orleans, going to Jeff. We talked about that trade. I picked up Taysom Hill, dropping Ray McLeod. And then Ray McLeod was picked up for Jalen Naylor. Let's see. Norm dropped Noah Fant. You picked up Jalen Tolbert. Good pickup because Cooks is out this week.
Yeah.
Dropping McLaughlin. And then Norm picked up Jalen Warren for 16 fake bucks, and no one else bid. Norm also picked up Ray Davis, dropping Keaton Mitchell. And then Carl picked up Cam Akers, dropping Watson. So those are all the transactions as of this airing and recording of our show. Okay. He came back and said his running backs are Kamara, Connor, and Ramondre. Ooh. Okay. Love Kamara. Connor is obviously injury prone, and now the news has just come out as of yesterday that Ramondre could get benched. He has 4 fumbles in 4 games. John, you're our Pats fan here in our league.
And Ramondre owner.
In both of our leagues, you own Ramondre. How do you feel about that? Obviously, you've seen the games. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. We've looked like crap, but Ramondre's got to hold on to that fucking ball. He knows that, and I think he's gonna. I think they're just gonna give Gibson the first fucking drive as a keep your fucking hands on the ball lesson. You know, the ceremonial starter, but we'll see.
Dave,
What's up?
Ramondre, thoughts on him?
Ramondre, I mean,
You
yeah,
chip?
I think he's still going to get a lot of volume. I think it's sort of like a lot what John has said. Just, I still think Ramondre is going to be the guy. I think you'll see maybe a little more of Antonio Gibson in the mix. And the offense is overall is just hasn't really started except for that Ramondre game in the first week, pretty much.
And it's not like Antonio Gibson is known for having solid hands. Didn't he have a little fumbleitis in Washington?
Yeah, he did actually, and he's a smaller back. I mean, shit, he was a wide receiver most of his career in college before converting to running back. But watching those games, it's clear to me that Ramondre is not as explosive the last couple of weeks, and maybe that's why they're going to go to Gibson. He has more breakaway speed. I don't know. Before we get into week 5, we do have another comment here. Thank you for the comment, Big Mac. Would you trade Dak and Amari Cooper for Goff and Olave? Ooh, okay. It's a good question. Looking at this.
It feels very lateral to me.
Very. Like, what are you looking to get out of this?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like either team is gaining anything. You know, I like Goff a little better than Dak as a quarterback, and I like Olave a little better as a wide receiver than Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, though, is Dallas is going to throw the ball a ton because they can't run the ball. Amari Cooper is a trade candidate. I mean, shit, Amari Cooper could end up in New Orleans. Amari Cooper could end up back in Dallas, possibly.
What if Amari Cooper ends up in KC, though? That would be
if
crazy.
It gives you the stack, then get it done, man. I love stacking. Stack it up, man.
Yeah.
After that, go get J-Mo.
Yeah, do the double stack. I agree. I mean, if you already have Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, absolutely go get Goff. Why not? I don't think we've seen the best out of St. Brown yet. And we've talked about this on this show, how many games they play indoors this year, a total of 13 out of their 17 games are going to be played indoors. We all know Goff thrives indoors. So, yeah, if I were you, I would do that because we already said we like Olave more than we like Amari. Because, again, if Amari is a trade candidate, you don't know where he's going to end up. You just don't. I mean, you would think he maybe goes to a better situation because he
most likely it's going to be teams that are looking to upgrade their wide receiver. It's going to be a better situation for the wide receiver.
Yeah. Well,
I'd imagine the problem is acclimating to the team, Devontae Adams gets traded to New Orleans tomorrow. How long until he's up on the playbook? He's certainly not playing this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say do the deal. Go get Goff and Olave.
100%.
Yep. All right, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to transition into our week 5. Week 5. Here, hold on. Let me pull this down. Boom. Here we go. Week 5 preview. This is a big week. Big week for a lot of teams. Maybe create a little separation in our league. I'm going to start here with my game, Bing Bong, which is weird because on the app, I've got a projection of 120.51, but here it shows 117.97.
Huh.
His is the same. That's weird. Anyways, right now we're just going to break this down. Right as of this recording, I have Anthony Richardson in my quarterback spot. I do also have Joe Flacco, who, if Richardson's out, I'm starting Flacco. 100%. At Jacksonville, great matchup. My other option is Andy Dalton, but he's playing at Chicago. Don't love that matchup for Dalton. He's got Kyler at San Francisco. So let's put it this way. Colts quarterbacks versus Kyler at San Francisco. What do you guys think? Quick.
Give me a Rich.
Dave,
am I looking
quick.
at the screen?
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah. No, I can see it. I just wanted to make sure I caught up to the right thing. Dave had to step away, it looks like, for a second.
Oh, hold on. Oh, you didn't even tell us. All right. Let's move on then, Dave, John.
Yep.
Jordan Mason in a plus matchup, home against Arizona. Kenneth Walker, home against the Giants. He's got Bucky Irving and Trey Sermon. I think I have a clear advantage in the backfield. Do you disagree?
That's not even a question. Just move on.
Malik Neighbors.
That may be why your projections are different, Malik Neighbors, because the news came out somewhere his projection changed on one of them.
It did, because he's 13.23 on the app, 10.7. Here, just let me see.
Is that your difference?
Yeah. Yep. It looks like he's still yet to clear concussion protocol. Yep. A long shot to play on Sunday. That's rough because, again, we had 10 days since our Thursday night game last week to get him ready for Seattle. But, hey, if it's better for the long haul, I'm all for it.
That just means it's going to be 17 days before he plays again. If he only misses one game, and he has 17 days off, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then you know what? And I'm hoping I don't necessarily need Neighbors this week. It's to be seen.
Yeah,
we talked about it before. I had Rashee Rice go down last week. Now Malik Neighbors as well. Khalil Shakir, he did not practice yesterday because he rolled his ankle in the game against Baltimore. Deontay Johnson, he did not practice yesterday. Probably more of a veteran rest day. But looking at this, let's just say Neighbors doesn't play. I would probably move Downs up to the wide receiver spot and start Eckler. So you're looking at Josh Downs, Khalil Shakir, and Deontay Johnson. Brian Thomas is a beast. Drake London plays tonight. Marvin Harrison. I think I give him the edge in wide receivers, personally. Tight ends, I'm hoping Evan Ingram plays this week. We haven't gotten any confirmation on that. Tucker Kraft, he was the big waiver wire pickup at the tight ends. Playing at the Rams. The Rams defense is very suspect. Again, let's say Eckler, Enrico Dowdle against Najee and Kareem Hunt. I would give him the edge at flex too. I would. Kickers are kickers. And then I've got Chicago playing home against Carolina. He's got San Francisco playing home against Arizona. Man, this with no Neighbors, this match is going to be a lot closer than I would hope for sure. But, Nick's 0-4. He's going to be scratching and clawing, trying to get his first win. It would be really nice to get up to 4-1. But I'll tell you what, with that Neighbors news, I do not feel as confident as I did when I woke up this morning.
Who would you put in if Neighbors doesn't play?
So I would move Downs up to wide receiver 3 and probably start Eckler because it looks like Eckler's going to play. Yep, which obviously is a significant drop. But what are you going to do? It's fantasy. I mean, I have CMC.
Roll with the punches, man.
CMC.
You can roll in there fairly confidently because Eckler's looked great in every game he's played so far.
Yeah, and he's getting kickoff.
I mean, I think he had 12 or 15 points right before he got knocked the fuck out, which was right before halftime.
He's had double-digit points every game that he's played. So, and he's still ranked the 35th running back, and he didn't play week 4. So, he'd probably be an RB2 statistically after 4 weeks. All right, next, John. I think I want to make this one the game of the week, so we're going to save that. STD Buckets puts his 2-game winning streak on the line against White Boy Rick. Both are 2-2. This is a clash of Plainville, Connecticut. Ricky's got Josh Allen playing at Houston. CJ Stroud. Oh, big game. Both quarterbacks going head up. I don't know. Who do you guys like in that matchup? CJ Stroud against Buffalo D or Josh Allen against Houston's D?
I like Josh Allen. It's gonna be a hell of a game, but I like Josh Allen.
I'm going to call this a push. I mean, I don't know what to think. It's in Houston, so you got to imagine CJ is going to have a nice big game. You also got to imagine Josh Allen's going to want to come in and match his energy for sure, since they can be potentially meeting in the playoffs, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a bounce back week for Josh Allen. I agree with what you said about Stroud at home. Buffalo's D is not – I mean, they're susceptible. You can pass on them. So I think there's going to be a lot of points for both these quarterbacks. Breece Hall and Travis Etienne for Ricky, Achane and Madison. I think this is clear.
Pretty easy.
Ricky. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Xavier Worthy against Nico, Tank Dell, and Zay. This one's closer than it looks, but I'd give the edge to Nico because he's just an absolute beast.
Same here. Yeah. Yeah. Even if Dell doesn't play, he still might have a wow. Yeah, maybe if Dell doesn't play, maybe he wouldn't have an edge, you know. But
say Dell does play. I like the fact that Ricky's got 3 essentially primetime games with the London games, Sunday Night Football, and Monday Night Football. That's always fun. Tight end. Norm is still searching for a tight end. Flex, you've got Jerome Ford and Chase Brown. Chase Brown broke out in a big way last week. He looked really good. He looked very explosive. JSN and Christian Kirk. That's pretty close the way Kirk's been playing. But I would give the edge to Ford and Brown just because of the matchups. At Washington, Chase Brown, he's going to be utilized probably a lot more in this game than Zach Moss, with Baltimore as the opponent. Ricky's going to run out the Giants D at Seattle. Kansas City D's home against New Orleans. I don't love either of those matchups. Let's see what they've got. Ricky now has 3 other defenses to choose from. Buffalo at Houston, Jacksonville home against Indy, and New Orleans on the road against Kansas City. And then who does Norm have as a tight end? He doesn't. So we'll find a tight end to stream for Norm. I don't know. I think this one's close. I think this is a pick 'em. Okay. Dave, let's hustle up. Let's get focused. Let's go through the forecast here, the breakdown of your week 5 matchup against Make Bears Great Again. Jeff is reeling. He needs a win. He's lost 3 in a row. Dave, you're 3-1. You're sitting pretty right now. You've got Jordan Love at the Rams, which we talked about. The Rams defense is suspect. He's got Purdy home against Arizona. Both are plus matchups. Take us through the rest of this. How are you feeling?
I feel pretty good, except for the fact that I have to play Tolbert for JT. Yeah, I love Love and Jaden Reed this week. Connor does have a tough matchup, and Robinson has a pretty tough matchup. So I'm just hoping, maybe I think it's going to be a close match, Biz, but I think if Tolbert has a good game, with Cooks being out, and then Love, Ayuk, Jaden Reed having good games, good matchups, plus matchups this week. It can go either way. It's going to be a tough match with Jeff, but nothing's easy, right? No easy wins. It's a battle every week, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. I think it happened.
Yeah, Jeff gets Trey McBride back. He's got Dobbs. He'll be catching passes from your quarterback. Of course, I love his wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, and Chris Olave. But is Tyreek going to have that breakout game this week, even with Snoop Huntley as the quarterback? I don't know. That seems to be determined. John, any thoughts on this matchup real quick?
I don't know. it's going to be tight. Yeah, playing Tolbert sucks. I don't love having Addison having to go on that Monday morning game, or Sunday morning game. Those London games are weird. You never really know what to expect. Hold on.
I mean,
Aaron Jones, he's putting DeAndre Swift back. Tyreek Debo. Like, everything on paper with McKeever's team is good. It just hasn't been playing worth a shit.
yeah.
Does Tyreek finally break out? Maybe. He's got this is super close. I mean, Dave's obviously got a solid, good team. Push.
Yeah, I'm this one's going to be a battle. Again, Jeff's
Yeah.
team, hopefully he's coaching up his players, needs a win. Cannot fall to 1-4. That is a tough hole to dig yourself out of, even if you do have some studs underperforming. Next, we have Rod Dogginett, who's won 2 in a row against firm grasp of the obvious. These are two teams going opposite directions. Ryan's team's been hot, scored over 200 points 2 weeks ago, 167, 160 plus last week. RJ has been in trouble, losing 2 in a row, absolutely needs a win. Here in this one, we've got Geno Smith playing against the Giants. He's got Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is just he's been average. Let's just face it. He's been average.
Very average.
Very quick answer. Pick one for this week. Geno home against the Giants or Pat home against the Saints? Who would you rather start from a fantasy perspective?
Geno.
Patty.
I'd still want to start Patty, even though Geno threw for 395 last week. If Neighbors doesn't play, they're going to pound the ball. Seattle, I think, and control the lead, control the game. Running back situation here, you got King Henry, just 2 monster performances in a row playing against a suspect Cincinnati defense, excuse me. He also has Zach Moss, running back on the other side of that. RJ's got Kamara Monday night, and he's also got Singletary in that Seattle game. This one's a toss-up because I don't like Zach Moss's. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm gonna lean slightly towards RJ here, just because Zach Moss might be losing a little bit of a grip on the starting job in Cincinnati. You're seeing a lot more Chase Brown.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a toss-up right here.
Hey, Big Mac came back to us real quick. He said trade was sent and accepted. Is Fields a good start this week versus an injured Dallas defense?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I think so. Yeah.
Absolutely start Fields with Goff on the bye. Congratulations on getting that deal done and completing that connect with Sun God. We're glad that we could help. Moving forward here, we've got wide receivers, Pittman, Wandale, Dontavian Wicks, Mike Evans, Jennings, Cooper. I think RJ has a clear advantage here. I don't think we need to discuss it too much. Tight ends, Kelsey. I think Kelsey and Ferguson are interesting because Cooks is out. Who else are they throwing the ball to in Dallas besides CD and Ferguson? Kelsey's going to get a bump up. I think that's a good matchup between the tight ends. But
Dave hopes Tolbert.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, he could. Flex, you got Douglas and Leggett. I'm high on the rookie Leggett. 10 targets last week. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. That, even though they're playing Carolina, that Bears passing offense, they've had one game where they were, in a negative game script at Indy where they threw the ball a ton. Otherwise, it's been, I don't know. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, both their values have taken a hit. But name-wise, they're playing home against Carolina. You'd have to think that they would have a higher outcome.
A lot of mouths to feed.
And then we're looking here. You got Denver's defense against Vegas, and then you've got Cleveland at Washington. Cleveland D is great, but Washington's moved the ball against everybody. Who else does RJ have as an option? He's got Atlanta tonight against Tampa. Detroit's on a bye. So, we Would you guys start Atlanta's defense playing home against Tampa on a short week or Cleveland's defense at Washington Sunday?
Cleveland at Washington.
Man,
I mean, you're
probably
playing.
Cleveland at Washington just because they're the better defense. You know, I don't like the Atlanta and Tampa Bay situation. Busy Baker's been dicing them up just as hot.
But traditionally, Thursday nights are lower scoring games. And they're home. That's a tough one.
Oh,
You couldn't-
shit. Look who's live with us.
If you couldn't make the situation, or if you couldn't make the decision, I guess you got to lean towards Cleveland. Okay. Stacks on stacks.
What's up, Nikki?
Oh, Nikki's online. Okay. What's up, homie? All right. Real quick, let's zip through this one so we could get to our game of the week. Stacks on stacks, 2-2. Sticky Nicky Throat Pie Guy is 2-2. Another 2-2 versus 2-2 matchup. Let's break this down.
You
Phil's
want me to send Nikki an invite? You want me to send Nikki the link? You want to get him in here?
Sure.
He's available?
Yeah. We'll see if he's
let's
available.
see.
Throw him in there. I'm going to start this breakdown.
Go ahead.
Lamar Jackson playing at Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, again, quarterbacks going head up. This one's a tough one, but I give the edge to Lamar. Dave, what do you think?
I give it to Lamar. I think Lamar can have a really monster game. I mean, that Cincinnati defense really hasn't stopped anyone all season.
True. Which I think Derrick Henry's going to eat.
Especially the Russian defense. Just
Yeah.
not good.
Running backs, Carl has Gibbs on a bye, so he's starting Justice Hill and Chuba Hubbard. You got Bijan and possibly Mostert coming back at New England. Chuba's been playing well, but that Chicago defense is tough. I give the edge to Bijan and Mostert. Dave?
I'm taking Chuba. Give me
Okay.
Chuba.
Okay. Let's see here. Wide receivers. I think Carl has the clear edge. Godwin, Higgins, and Chase against Trey Tucker, Stephon, even though it's the revenge game for Stephon Diggs, home against his former team, Buffalo Bills, and Rome Odunze, who has had that one balloon game, otherwise hasn't really done much. Tight ends, you got to give it to George Kittle. Come on. Kyle Pitts.
No question.
Kyle Pitts, come on. Cortland Sutton and Tutu against Kyron and Javante. I think just because he has Kyron in the flex, Kyron could outscore both Sutton and Atwell.
I agree.
Defensively, you got Vegas at Denver, good plus matchup. And then Washington's D's been better after the first couple weeks, playing against Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. I still would give the edge to Vegas defense.
Is Nick in the studio, just out of curiosity? I don't know if you have to look at something different.
No, he's not.
All right,
I can see him.
cool.
The Raiders always play Denver pretty
Tough.
tough at home. Yeah.
Yeah. This one's a tough one to pick just because, man, I mean, Carl does have Justice Hill. Like I said, he's been solid. Just to pull him up real quick, you look at his games, 8 points, 4 points, 6 points, and then 18. And now they're playing at Cincinnati. And as we know, I mean, he catches balls more than he rushes. But I don't know. This one's tough. I would give the edge just because the wide receiver edge is so profound. And I do think that Cincinnati is going to be in a negative game script, forcing the throw against Baltimore, which you can throw on Baltimore. And you've got Burrow, Higgins, and Chase. That's a huge game.
You just can't run on Baltimore.
Exactly. That Cincinnati-Baltimore game is huge for this matchup. I think this is close, but I would lean towards Carl. Plus, Phil is in my division, so yes, I'm rooting for Carl. Let's go. I mean, this week, I'm rooting for you, Dave. I'm rooting for Carl, and I'm rooting for Ricky because those are the three teams that are in my division. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've all been waiting for. Week 5, game of the week. Team takeover against Searchlight Publishing. Let's be friends. Not this week. This week,
No.
You guys are rivals facing off. John, you're 3-1.
Legit. You know what I texted Rich and asked him?
What?
I not asked him what I said to Rich earlier this week. I literally said to him, "Look, bro, I know you ain't got power and shit, but you need to think about me. This is the first time I've ever had to play against JJ in this league. I don't appreciate that.
Oh, that's rough. Here, we're going to break this down real quick, and then we got another comment I'd like to get to. Takeover. You're 3-1. Rich has lost 2 in a row. He's 2-2. You got Dak Prescott playing at Pittsburgh Sunday night. Jaden Daniels playing home against Cleveland. Ooh, that's a tough one to pick. I would go with Jaden Daniels because of his rushing upside. Not by much. Not by much.
I'm gonna go Dak.
Dave?
I'll go with Dak.
Okay.
I think there's gonna be a little. I just think it's gonna be a good day for Dak. I'm just feeling Dak.
Okay.
I mean, Cleveland is a good defense, and rookie quarterback. I mean, it's not Jaden Daniels is definitely not playing like a rookie, but he's still a rookie.
2 weeks ago, DJ sliced him up. Granted, he had Malik Neighbors, but running backs, you got Josh Jacobs and Stevenson here, John, and he's got Joe Mixon and James Cook. I would give an edge to Mixon and Cook, but
there's probably a little edge to Mixon and Cook there.
We need Jacobs to bounce back in a big way this week.
Yeah, and I mean he's set up to. You can run all over Los Angeles, so.
Wide receivers. This is what we were talking about before, where this is your first time going up against Jetta. But you have a stud in CeeDee Lamb. Terry McLaurin's been playing much better, and Rashid Shaheed is one bomb away from having a monster week, playing on primetime as a closer in this match. CeeDee's playing primetime along with Dak as well. He's got Jetta, like you said, anything can happen in those London games. I think Jetta's matchup proof. He's an absolute stud, top 3.
Number lock him in for 22 points, man.
Yeah, you hope it's only 22. Shit.
100%. That's what I said. Lock it in for 22 and buckle up for the rest, man.
I just got an update. No Joe Mixon at practice for Rich.
Whoa.
Well, I think he's got he's got their backup.
Cam Akers?
No, it was isn't Dameon Pierce back now too?
I'm not sure about that. What about Akers? Where is he at? Who has
Carl
Akers?
just picked him up.
Yeah, Akers stinks. He stinks. They're not Joe Mixon. They're not a plug and play.
Yeah, Houston's going to throw it.
We've learned that over the last 2.5 weeks. Jalen Waddle, Jacoby Myers, I think you have the edge, even though it's Jefferson. You got another stud yourself, CD.
Yeah.
Kincaid versus Ertz, I'd give you the edge. And then you got Metcalf, and you're starting Braylon Allen. Talk me through that.
Oh, injuries and shit, dude. I don't have anything else on the bench I really can start. Maybe Roshan.
Because Rich is starting Freiermuth and Whittington. So let's take a look at your bench. You got Roshan. That's a possible start against Carolina. Who are you starting again? Oh, Braylon. Okay. Yeah, Garendo. JK's on the bye. Christian Watson is going to be out. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Rich would be forced to start Dameon Pierce because he's got.
Yeah, I think that's why he got Pierce. And I mean, is he healthy? He's playing.
I mean, right now it says he's questionable. He didn't practice Wednesday because of a hamstring. A hamstring injury has left Pierce sidelined for several weeks at this point.
All right.
So
I got a Rashee Rice post just now.
Yeah, what does it say?
Chiefs update. Chiefs coach Andy Reid said that they want to wait for the swelling in Rashee Rice's knee to subside before his wide receiver undergoes additional testing next week.
Yeah. I don't know how to read into that. All I know is he's not on the fucking IR. Not like I have an IR spot to give up because of CMC, but I can't really do anything. Can't pick someone up because Rashee Rice comes back, even if it's 4, 6, 8 weeks. I'm going to hold on to him.
Yeah, 8 weeks, right?
So
I mean, I don't know if he's on IR too, and you're still sitting on CMC. How long are you going to clog up the bench with both of those? or are you going to move one of those and try to get an asset back that's workable? You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we got a comment here from Big Birds with a question. He said, I'm down bad at running back. Traded Diggs for Hubbard. I have Chase Reed, Devonta Smith, and Olave already. Good trade.
So on the surface, it may not sound or feel like a great trade to make, but let me reassure you that, yeah, I feel like you did make a good trade, but I also want you to try to back it up and go get Jonathan Brooks, because that'll give you a little bit of insurance later in the season to have a little fallback on Chuba. There's a possibility Chuba might not be like this all year. Oh, Brooks is on your IR? Bam, you're sitting pretty. I like it.
Mhm.
Great trade.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I mean, you got stud wide receivers, bro.
Stud. That's a lineup of wide receivers I'd be proud of. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
And I have a wide receiver fetish, so
Well, it's a trade. I'm sorry. It was Chuba for I missed the wide
Diggs.
receiver.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Diggs. Ooh, I think I would have taken the Diggs side.
Yeah, but Chuba's been solid as fuck, man. And that offense.
He's down bad at running back, Dave.
Yeah.
And
he's got
like the rest of his
receivers.
wide receivers are crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to make that move. And I think Diggs is the guy I would trade out of Chase,
Diggs was 5.
Reed, Devontae, and Olave. That's the guy I would have traded. 100%.
And since he already has Jonathan Brooks sitting in IR, man, it makes perfect sense. That's a perfect fit.
Achane, Chase Brown, Roshan, Bucky, and Sermon are my running backs. I'm screwed. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I like Achane. Chase
Yeah,
Brown's getting more touch. Roshan's a great lottery
Bucky's getting
ticket
some
'cause
red zone.
DeAndre sucks.
And Sermon's going to get the start this week with Taylor being down against a shitty Jacksonville defense. So Sermon,
Yeah,
shit, man. I mean, this week I would think about sitting Achane and start Chase Brown and Sermon. I know Chase Brown's going against Baltimore, but Chase
he's
Brown. Go ahead.
He's got Hubbard now too to start.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, dude, you're sitting pretty,
So,
man. I mean, I know you got choices to make, but shit, you got to love the upside of Chase Brown. Roshan might take – well, he was looking like he was going to take the job, and then Swift had a boom week. But I would not rest my laurels on Swift for the rest of the year.
Nick's straight for Sermon, Dave. Come and get him. That's from Nicky.
Yeah, go get Sermon, Dave. Oh wow, you're 0-4, man. You're 0-4 with that squad. That's gotta be a tough league.
Yeah.
Or
you're just running into the buzzsaw every week.
Well, Devonta Smith didn't play last week. He's on bye this week. Olave's been good, not great yet. Chase has had a couple good games. Started slow. You just need those guys.
Tua back.
Yeah, and you guys just need to put it all together. Have all those studs perform at a stud level. You know, that's tough. It's a tough start at 0-4, but you got a good team. Running into juggernauts. I played 4 of the top 6 teams. Fair enough. I think in the long run, though, you should be okay, man, because, again, those receivers will put it together. You're going to have to think about that. I would almost package a guy like Achane in one of your other wide receivers and go get a stud running back if you could do that. Like a guy like Saquon, who's on bye this week.
Or maybe he can package Brooks and Hubbard together just to get that one running back.
That's what I mean. Go get that stud running back. But I would target someone like Saquon because he's on bye this week. Thing is you're 0-4, you need a win. You can't be picking up. That's the downside to my comment. You definitely need a win. Love and Fields are my QBs. Yeah, so it's been a tough start for you, but hang in there, brother, because you do have a solid squad.
Yeah, and I even like your quarterback situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
So do I. All right, boys.
I know that David Cole over there loves your connect with Reed and Love.
Love it.
Oh yeah, David Cole
David
has
Cole
that as
loves
well.
that.
He has that as well. So, parting shots. All three of us are 3-1 moving into week 5. How do we feel? What are we thinking? Dave, I'll start with you.
Well, if I can survive this week and be 4-1, that's a hell of a step in the right direction. It's my Armageddon of the year. I have 3, maybe 4 starters out this week with JT not going to play. Even if he plays, I don't think I would play him. But
AJ.
yeah, well, good luck. There's no easy wins in this league, and just keep moving forward, and who knows?
Well, ironically, we're all playing teams that are desperate for a win, right? So, Dave, you're playing Jeff, who's lost 3 straight and is 1-3. John, you're playing Rich, who is 2-2 but has lost 2 in a row. And then I'm playing Nikki, who is 0-4. So, crazy things have happened in this league. Don't let the records fool you. I don't feel all warm and fuzzy now that I got that fucking Malik Neighbors information. I mean, dude, in 1 week, I traded Olave, DK, took downgrades, good players back, but took downgrades at my wide receiver position because I was banking on Malik Neighbors, who had a great game week 4, but now may be out because of the concussion on this last play, and Rashee Rice. So I went into week 4,
Tough.
or at least from week 3 to week 4 with Rashee Rice, Malik Neighbors, DK Metcalf, and Chris Olave on my roster. And now going into week 4, I have none of them. But I got running back upgrades. I did. And I don't think Khalil Shakir is a bum. And I turned Michael Pittman into Deontay Johnson. So it's not like I have nobody, but still, man,
Hey man,
how things can change.
When you get hit, when you get hit, right?
Yeah. So, good luck to Nick this week. You're going to need it, buddy, because even not playing all my studs, my team's coming out, and we smell blood in the water. John, do you have anything to say about Rich or your matchup?
No, man. Good luck, Rich.
It's probably something you haven't already said via text.
Yeah. This will be an interesting week. I love Rich 51 weeks a year. This is the one.
Right on. Fair enough. Well, fellas, we're going to sign off. Thanks again for joining us. Good luck this week. Let's try to make it all Denver teams 4-1 in this Strictly Business League. Let's go. Let's get it.
Let's
go. Good luck, fellas. Thanks, everybody, and peace.
Peace.
Peace.